Hello guys, hello gals, and welcome back to the most awesome flight simulation channel on YouTube. For those of you who's new here, I'm the Danish Flyer, and here you will most likely see various flight sim videos, arrival videos, and full flight videos, and at times a video like these. If that sounds remotely interesting, then what are you waiting for? We'd love to have you on board here, and believe it or not, you actually have a say in what videos I upload on the channel. So with that said, I'm finally bringing a request made a long time ago to life, and this evening we're flying from awesome Atlanta over to Oklahoma City. So strap yourselves in, because this is hopefully going to be a wild ride, and I explain why it's going to be a wild ride later on. Oh, and by the way, I've downloaded this awesome Freedom 1 livery, as you can see here, and since you guys wanted me to fly southwest over to Oklahoma City, I figured I might as well grab the most beautiful looking livery there is for Southwest, or at least one of them. So, I'll meet you in the flight deck. Alright, welcome aboard everyone. So, as you can see, we're in the very dark cockpit of the Southwest 737. So, let's just first of all going to switch on some lights. And as you can see, the panel state that we are in, I think the panel state is called apron long, which resembles the state where the previous crew has left for the day, and then we are going to take over flying and do our shift for the day, basically. So what the previous crew did was they of course shut the engines down and did the shutdown flow and all that, and then switched the packs to off, emergency exit lights to off, window heats off, and they switched the IRSs to off. And then they could actually leave. So first of all, going to align the IRSs here. Emergency exit lights, we can arm those. Window heats, we can select those on, and we can leave the packs off for now because we have the preconditioned air doing all the work for us. Let's just check the landing gear lights up here. Got 6 green, speed brake lever is stowed, flap lever is stowed. We can set the parking brake now. Engine start levers are cut off. And I guess you would check the circuit breaker panel and the flight documentation, or the aircraft documentation now. Check the oil quantity we got 94%, that's good, and 100, oh actually 105. I guess now would be a good time to just insert our position, and whilst we're doing that we can just quickly go ahead and do the fire test. Engine 1 overheat, engine 2 overheat, 1, 2 and APU, wheel well lights, and the belt does cut off indeed, and then the squib bottles looking good, cargo good as well. Alright, so let's just quickly take a glance at the Volanta map here. As you can see, we got the Atlanta approach or departure or whatever, and then we got center. We then have Oklahoma City over here, which is covered by Fort Worth Center as well. So we won't really have ATC in the middle, which is fine. I'm going to be cruising at that point anyways. But yeah, just take a look at this weather, guys. Jesus Christ. This is why I was saying that it's going to be a wild ride, because according to the flight briefing, let's just take a look here. Yeah, the winds are indeed from the west going east, which means it's going to push the weather overhead the airfield now. And as of right now, I think we only have a very small window to get out of this airport before the weather finally sets in, and in real life would be the culprit of some very nasty flight cancellations. So I expect to depart in roughly half an hour from now, so we better get going. We are parked on, let's see here. The Concourse Charlie is for southwest, and I'm parked on Charlie 17, which is up here. So that leaves us with departure runway 27 right or 26 left. I have a feeling that we're going to get 26 left, but we will only really know when we get the pushback clearance. But without further ado, let's get right into the planning here. Flying from Atlanta, put it in here, to Oklahoma City. Southwest call sign, Southwest 1091. And then, departure route, as mentioned before, 26 left, hopefully. And it's going to be the NASA 2 departure. There we are, with a YAL transition. And then on the way into Oklahoma City, I predicted runway 35 left. We got 35 left, 35 right, so I just flipped a coin basically, and I'm going to select 35 left for now. It's going to be the Rifle 3, and transition is from Dwine, and we can look at the rest once we do the briefing or whatnot. So we are ending up at YAL, then going direct to Lit, and yeah, then direct to Dwine, Rifle 3. Pretty straightforward route, in my opinion. Let's just finally check it out using the plan view here. Looks good. You can activate that. The alternate, just going to type it in here today as well. It's going to be Tulsa, Kilo Tango Uniform Lima. Good stuff. Alright. The fuel is 17.5, 17,000 pounds, and the payload is 124.1, and the reserves 5.5, cost index 40. Southwest uses cost index 40, and then cruising level 380. Cruise winds 247 at 23. Temperature is minus 52 up there. Transition altitude is 18,000. And let's finally do the takeoff calculations. Right, so here we are actually in a little bit of an awkward situation, given that we don't know the departure runway. And we sort of have to know that in order to do the takeoff calculations. So I'm initially going to grab 26 left for the departure runway, and I'm using the virtual performance tool for the takeoff calculations here. A really neat tool in order to calculate those things. Actually, I need to select a new aircraft, and that's the passengers in the background, as you can hear. 737-800 with winglets. And it's going to be carbon brakes, and regulations are FAA. Departure airport is Atlanta, runway 26 left. Yeah, I expect a full length today. If not, then we can just change it. And by pressing this button, it actually fills in the weather all automatically. Just set the flaps to optimum. And improved climb, would we like that? I'm not really sure about that. Let's just quickly take a look at the gross weight is 141.6, and center of gravity, I think it will be around 25 when we are refueled and all that. So let's take a look at the meter here, and of course flying local time here in Europe, or at least where I am. The winds are 3208 at 8, gusting 18 knots. That could have been worse, but this will also result in a little bit of a right-hand crosswind, as you can see, which will make it a little bit tricky during takeoff. Anyways, 10 statute miles, few 4,000, few 5,000 scattered. Level 100 broken, level 150 broken, 250. That's a lot of cloud layers. Fucking hell. Temperature 28, 2.20, altimeter 29996. And then we have some stuff down here. And also, might be a good idea to check out the terminal area forecast here. From pretty much today to tomorrow at the same time. Winds 250 at 6, still from the east, sorry, from the west. 6 statute miles, vicinity showers, and a lot of cloud layers. And now a more time-specific terminal area forecast, lasting from right around now to 4 hours from now. Temporary variable winds 15 gusting 25, 4 statute miles, thunderstorms and rain, mist, overcast 2500 cumulonimbus. So yeah, that doesn't really look good. Hopefully this shouldn't affect us too much, but given the weather radar image that you just saw before, then I really have my doubts today. This might also be a good idea to go with the wind shear option here, so it gives us the max rated takeoff performance now. Improved climb, let's just put that, actually see here. Disadvantage, rotated takeoff stopping margin is reduced and tire wear increases, simply because that we will rotate at higher speeds. So today, in order to decrease the stopping margin, I'm going to leave out improved climb. Let's calculate that. If wind shear is encountered at or above normal VR, do not attempt to accelerate to increased VR. Rotate immediately at a normal rate toward a 15 degree pitch up attitude. If an engine failure occurs at or above, yeah, we can disregard that. Okay, cool. If there is insufficient runway left to stop, initiate a normal rotation at least 2,000 feet before the end of the runway, even if the airspeed is low. Hopefully we won't really encounter that, at least I sincerely don't hope so. But anyways, oh, we did already calculate that. Flaps 1, we're going to use flaps 5 today, and we even have the Amber VR that we saw before on the list that I read to you. So that's cool. I'm just gonna pull this aside and get cracking with it. Now of course I should mention that I'm always planning conservatively, which means that the performance that I actually just calculated was the worst, absolute worst situation that we could get in. So that just goes to show that we are fully prepared for the departure here. We can just leave everything as it is. Our estimated N1 percentage upon takeoff is 100.2. Going to flaps 5, speed 127, 137, 146. And oh yeah, the fuel, completely forgot about that. And the NADP procedure here, let's just go 1000 feet. With all of that set, just going to set in the runway course, just so that we are a little bit ready. And that, oh look at that, we just got our clearance. That's what I love about flying in the US. Southwest 1091, clear to Oklahoma, NASA 2, maintain 10,000 feet. Set right there. Expect level 380, 10 minutes after departure, departure frequency 133.475, squawk 1132. Expect runway assignment and other information is available at, okay cool. Call at the appropriate end of ramp for taxi, what's spot number and ATIS. At pre-departure clearance end. Okay, cool. It's as simple as this when flying in the US, really. So I'm just going to take a look at this link that he sent me. This is what it looks like. RNAV SID directions. Yep, RNAV to NASA. Two departures, north and west departures, 26 left or 8 right. So yeah, let's go with 26 left. So we are going to call the controller, or the appropriate controller, at the end of the ramp. So going to pushback facing north, and we're going to call him at 4 November at that point around here, and then we should get the rest of the taxi clearance. But yeah, let's put in the runway course, heading 275. There we go. And the runway heading is 275 as well. Altitude 10,000 and V2 is 146. And since the boarding is now completed, we can switch on the APU. And the fueling is complete. Have 17.8. That's great. Center of gravity is 20.5. That's good. Okay, can now switch on the fasten seatbelt sign in the cabin crew. And in the meantime, let us do the briefing then. Just pull over the chart here as well. Currently sitting on Charlie 17. We're going to push back facing north, then call the appropriate controller at 4 November. Continue taxi via Fox or Echo, most likely Echo, to the approach end for runway 26 left. We are going to perform a full rated takeoff, so that means no derates for us today, given the weather is a little bit harsh, I guess. 26k with flaps 5 and V speeds as shown here. 27, 37, 46. V rotate is 137, though we have an amber speed of 146, which stems from the wind shear option that are selected here. Amber 146. If we experience a wind shear or stuff like that, we may want to wait with the rotation until 146. But hopefully that doesn't really happen to us. And acceleration height is 1000 feet, which we will pass relatively quickly. And the departure is going to be a NASA 2 departure towards the west, runway 26 left, climate heading 275, which is set on the MCP. Intercept course 288 to Snuffy, then on depicted route to NASA. Top altitude is 10,000 feet, and we also got 10,000 feet from the pre-departure clearance. Any threats for the departure today is obviously the weather. Okay, so I actually see that the winds that we looked at initially haven't really changed. And I believe every METAR is updated every half an hour, so we might get a new METAR doing pushback or doing taxi. But we will check to it when we get there. And now let's do the before start flow. Fuel pumps. I will actually leave the center tanks off for now until we're passing like what 10,000 feet. This is to avoid the master caution lighting up during our takeoff roll, which could in worst case end up in a rejected takeoff, which we obviously do not want. Packs, APU bleed, anti-collision. LNAV and VNAV, auto brake, RTO, reset the fuel flow, parking brake is set, and we will set the transponder to this setting, transponder, and yeah, we can just in the meantime call for the pushback truck. Can you do the before start checklist then?
Atlanta traffic,
Okay, flight deck door is closed and locked. Fuel, we have 17.8 tons on board. Flight plan says 17.5, so that's good. Passenger signs on. Windows are locked. MCP 146, 275, 10,000 feet. Takeoff speeds 27, 37, 46. CE Preflight is completed. Aileron trim and rudder trim is 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing is completed, and anti-collision light is on before start checks complete. And before I forget, let's actually go ahead and set the trim now as well. Alright, final check to see if the traffic is clear. Left is clear, and what about the right? The right looks clear as well. Alright, let's release the parking brakes, or does the GPU need to get on board as well? I'll just wait for him to take off with the ground power, and then we can release the parking brake. Right, parking brake released, and let's go. Good stuff. Clear for the engine start. Packs off, APU bleed on, and let's start number 2. Alright, N2, that's good. And we want to look for N1 rotation before we can actually add the fuel. And a slow rise in the oil pressure as well. Add the fuel at 25%. And there's the fuel. The EGT should rise now, which it does nicely. Fuel flow and oil pressure is coming up. Everything looks good. Was that another southwest that you spotted? Yeah, there. Either he's joining this side or the other side. Well, let's see what happens now. Alright, start a cutout, start number 1. He is indeed coming this way. And that's at 800 as far as I can see. Okay, let's focus on the engine start, and we got N1, which means we can proceed with the engine start. 25%. Fuel flow, there it is. And EGT, yep, indicator is normal. You always want to look out for the EGT, that it doesn't really shoot up and causes a hot start, in which case you would immediately abort the engine start. And this is the part where a lot of flight simulators actually tend to neglect, but it's also a critical job to monitor the engine startup. Yeah, can continue with the after start flow. Generators on, propane on, hydraulic panel is set, packs on, as well as auto, APU bleed to off, sub switch is continuous, and APU is off. I don't know why, but these overwing lights has began to illuminate in the meantime. I have no idea how to get rid of it. I at some point even tried to clear the failure in the FMC, despite I didn't have any. Yeah, I don't. Let's just leave it for now. The master caution light may light up during this takeoff roll, just for half a second or so, but shouldn't be any concern. We can now select flaps 5 and test the flight controls, because the tug driver has disconnected. Full forward, full aft, full left and full right, rudder left and right and neutral. It does indeed work as it should. Recall. And yeah, as you can see, the doors are still lighting up. There's nothing I can do about it. The exit doors are not opened, as you can see. Right, we got the signal. He is carrying the pin, so that's good. Let's do the after start checklist then. Generators on, probe is on, NGS off, oscillator valve auto, engine start switch are continuous, recall is checked. Oil brake RTO, engine start levels are detent, fog controls are checked, current cockpit is clear before taxi checks complete. And before I actually continue the taxi, I just want to take one last look at the weather, the performance calculation. The winds are 290 at 5. Alright, so the gust has now settled a bit. So you can actually see here 290 at 5, test touch at miles view. I don't really need that. Don't really need to read that to you. Altimeter 299 at 5. Alright, so I guess we can actually do a proper derated takeoff now. Yeah, let's do that. 33, estimated N1 percentage of 92.9. This is close enough. Flaps 5, 50, 51, and 55. Okay, that is the before taxi checklist, and let's continue the taxi, shall we? Let's just release the parking brake and get rolling. And in the meantime, we can check out the ATIS. We got information Victor. Just gonna write that down. And you know, the pre-departure clearance said that we have to call end of ramp for taxi with spot number and ATIS. So our spot number is 4 November. And we have information Victor. Atlanta Tower, good evening, Southwest 10 and 1, spot 4 November with Victor for the taxi to 6 left. Sure is crooked here. Look at the...
So it's 1091, Atlanta Tower, and a 26 left, taxi via Fox.
Taxi via Fox, 26 left, Southwest 1091. I guess we can do the before takeoff checklist. So we got flaps 5, green light, and trim is 6 units, 6 units set before takeoff checklist complete.
Left line up wing traffic crossing downfield.
Alright, we'll line up with 26 left, Southwest 1091.
7, welcome to Atlanta, right signal enabled, ground point 9.
Oh.
So 2892, join Echo, contact ground, site
and we got a majestic A330 giving us a death stare right now. What on earth is going on? 26 left, clear to takeoff, RNAV to Snafi, Southwest 1091.
Deep 17 running 26 left, line up wind.
Alright, let's just gather ourselves here. I don't know what just happened. Flaps 5, auto throttle. Okay, I think we're good to go. TARA, landing lights, taxi lights off, strobe and steady, start the clock, and let's go. Looking for a 98 or 92.9.
Outside Atlanta class Bravo. Outside Atlanta
stable,
Bravo.
setting takeoff thrust.
For the 1520 and November 5 crossing 827 right, join Mike for ramp and monitor ground 121.9.
And 92.8, thrust is set. That's checked.
16 heavy, contact Atlanta departure,
Thrust hold.
133.47. 33.7, departure 3.
A little bit of right aileron into wind here.
P1 17 RNAV impasse.
Rotate. 2 to 2.5 degrees per second here, guys. Smooth rotation. Gears up, pitch up to 15 degrees initially. Maintain V2 plus 10 or 20, or basically this white bar here. Climate heading 275. And 1. Alright, we can pitch down a little bit. As soon as we are climbing above the white bug here, we can actually select flaps 1. Right turn to Snuffy. And flaps up, speed checked.
So 1091, Conic land of departure 133.47.
133.47, Southwest 1091. See ya. Autopilot is on. 133.47. Departure, good evening, Southwest 1091, passing 3,700 for 10,000.
Southwest 1091, departure, over to contact, climate 14,000.
14,000 for Southwest 1091.
Departure is 247 out of 6.0 up to 2,000.
And I think we can risk a quick wind view
over
here. This is why I love sunrise or sunset departures. They're just the best. It would even have been so much better if we departed a little bit before. But this will suffice as well, of course. Alright guys, one last thing before I'm going to let you go. Now that we are reaching or climbing through 10,000, we have to do some final checks. So they consist of adjusting the fuel pumps as required, and then the lights, the APU to off, release the cabin crew or release the passengers. Then going to check the engine start switches here. There I left them in off. And then probably the most important step in this procedure, checking the pressurization here. You can see the inner needle is resembling the cabin altitude. You never ever want to exceed 10,000 feet. If you exceed 10,000 feet, then the oxygen mask will drop in the cabin, and you will receive a warning in the cockpit as well. Right now we are at 2,000 feet and climbing, so indications are perfectly normal. The outer needle is the differential pressure. This resembles the pressure that the aircraft is going through the higher it climbs, basically. And the last one is the cabin climb. You never ever want to pass 1,000 feet a minute, because that will hurt the passenger's ears. So this rate is completely normal, so that's fine. Then the lights as required. Pressurization mode, double check that and make sure that the pressurization mode selector is in auto, which it is. APU bleed is off. The rest we really checked that, we did check that during the ASATEO checklist. And then make sure lastly that the passengers are nice and comfy in the back with regards to temperature. Alright guys, that is basically it. I hope you enjoyed the departure, and before it gets too boring for you guys, I'm going to let you go for now. I'll catch you guys during the descent or during the approach.
Analysis. It looks like a small incandescent bulb, designed to indicate something out of the ordinary, like a malfunction. Rico, manual. Problemo solved.
And hello again folks, welcome back. We are currently in descent. As you can see, inbound rifle as part of the rifle arrival. I've done all the items on the descent checklist. The only item I need on the descent checklist is the auto brake setting. And I wanted to discuss the auto brake settings with you guys. So, and yeah, let's set the local QNH 29990. So regarding the auto brake setting, I just found out that they had a runway change in Oklahoma City, and the winds are now favoring the southern runways, which means that we will either grab 17 left or 17 right. And as it seems right now on flight radar, it seems that they use the eastern runway 17 left, this is for eastern arrivals and 17 right for western arrivals. As you can see here, we are approaching from the east from this direction, so we will merge nicely with 17 left. This means that we have a new runway, of course. The arrival will remain the same, given this is a typical US standard arrival route, which means that nothing really changes on the star, except of course for the runways. But this means that we need to calculate the auto brake setting for runway 17 left, and I am using again virtual this tool, the virtual performance tool. So there's actually a fairly simple way to figure this out, which auto brake setting you need to use. The only thing you need is a performance tool. I am using again virtual performance tool, and you can easily do this with TopCat as well. So what you're going to want to do is find Google Maps and find the relevant airport, then the relevant runway. And back in the day when I used TopCat, this is how I would do it. So I would typically place so first of all you want to select measure distance, right click and then measure distance. And for TopCat I would probably grab a point around here. Well, that is the starting point that I would select initially for TopCat. And then you just have to find your relevant exit that you want to take. In this case, I am probably looking for maybe the last or the second last exit, lasting from 1,700 to approximately 2,000, which is 1.25 miles. And yeah, that is the way I used to do it in TopCat. Now when I'm using the dispatch, the virtual performance tool, I'm setting the marker right here instead, at the threshold. And then I'm going to select the relevant exit, which is somewhere around here. Typically, yeah, it's around 2,200. So what you then have to do with this number in mind is go to the calculation tool, and I've already done the calculations in advance. And it's going to be a flaps 30, and then you can see auto brake setting number 3 is actually quite appropriate, 2,266, and we got 2,200 from the distance that we just measured. Now when we have virtual performance tool, you also have to bear in mind the recommended cooling times or brake cooling times, and if you don't really adhere to these times, then you can end up melting the brakes in worst case, or what most pilots or airlines use it for these days is to make sure that the next outbound flight can't depart on time due to the braking cooling time, because the brakes need sufficient time to cool, and you can use this tool to calculate that. And just to show you guys, we are this is the timetable for the current airframe and the routes that it or the airports and routes that it flew on this particular day. This leg was flown on July 1st from Atlanta to Oklahoma City as Southwest 1091, and the next flight that it took was Southwest 3236 to Orlando, and they had a departure time of 10:05 a.m. Now we will land at approximately 9:30 a.m., which leaves us with 35 minutes before we have to get airborne again. This means that the braking cooling time cannot exceed 35 minutes. Otherwise we might end up getting delayed, and you know, we might end up missing our slot. So back to the virtual performance tool. 35 minutes was the number we couldn't exceed. So you can actually see here, if you use auto brake setting number 3, we will exceed that with 46 minutes. So what we will have to do is select reverses to all up. As you can see, now it drops down to 12 minutes. And this is why most airlines tend to use reverse thrust on dry runways. This is. So we're going to go with auto brake 3, flaps 30, and reversers all up, all operational. So let's see auto brake 3, and yeah, that's 131 for the landing weight, and a standard wind correction of 5 knots. So we're already quite far ahead into our descent here, almost turning the final approach now. Let's get the lights going. And the cabin crew can also start taking their seats now. So this means that the descent checklist is now fully complete, and the approach checklist is the only thing we have to do now, and that is basically checking the altimeters. So we want to cross-check altimeter 2990, 2990, 2990. Just want to make sure that we have the correct reference, and then we want to check the altitude that we are currently passing. So 7440, standby altimeter is correct, passing 7340, 7340 over here. So we just want to make sure that all three altitudes are in sync, otherwise we might have a problem. So this is the approach. There's not really much to it. We don't have ATC, unfortunately, which means that we just have to fly this approach by ourselves. And at ACES we're going to get vectors, but I basically vectored myself, and yeah, right now I've created a point right around here, which is, you can see on the navigation display, which will make our final turn a little less steep, let's say. The ILS is called India Echo X-Ray Romeo, which is identified here, which means that we are good for the ILS. The minimums are 1487. Cloud slope is 3 degrees, and the mid approach is climb 5000 on heading 180, which is straight south, and inbound on India Romeo Whiskey, which is the real largest VOR, to waypoint Jeffsey and hold. Continue climbing hold to 5000. So initially 5000 feet is the altitude that we want to climb to. Once on the left, vacate via either Mike or Echo 11. Continue back to the gates, enter via either Kilo or Echo 8, and then grab a stand. And I think that Southwest uses 10, 12, 14 or 16. Alright, with that out of the way, let's continue the approach, and we are almost turning final now. We are 12 miles out, not really dropping the speed, so let's go flaps 5 already. You can actually also arm the localizer, which is already captured. Cool. 176. And we might be a little fast at this point, but we still have time to recover. Approach mode, and glide slope is active and captured. Set the altitude to actually we won't set the mid approach altitude to 5000, because Southwest standard operating procedure is to set this to 0 as soon as glide slope is captured, of course. Let's go flaps 10 for extra drag. And as far as I know, Southwest is the only airline that sets the altitude to 0. Engine start switch are continuous. Final call for the cabin crew. Speed brake, arm that. 8 miles out. Perhaps a little fast, that's all my fault, of course. So what we'll do is drop the gear and select flaps 15. Speed is checked. Let's get the pedals ready. Oh yeah, by the way, also, I completely forgot about this too, but Southwest also tends to select the minimums down here. They select that so that this number resembles the touchdown zone elevation. But just for the sake of the realism, let's just do that real quick. Touchdown zone elevation is 1287. Here we go. We won't have any missed approach callouts anyway, so that's just how Southwest does it, I guess. Right, approaching 4 miles, speed 146 and flaps 30. Landing text, engine starts with your are continuous. Landing gear down through gear, speed brake is on, and flaps 30, green light. MCP is looking good, landing text complete. And before I forget, let's just get the flight recorder going in the background. Alright, good stuff. And my aircraft. Let's make a quick announcement on Unicom. Oklahoma City traffic, Southwest 1091, final 17 left. So the question is always in Microsoft Flight Sim whether you can actually trust the puppies or trust the glide slope indication on the PFD. You never really know, so I guess we'll just have to find out one way or the other. And we are completely visual right now, so I guess we can disregard the minimums anyway. And I think we are looking good on the altitude. Pitch down a bit here.
100, 50, 30, 10.
Speed back up. Reverse as normal. And full reverse. And 60 knots. Manual braking. Auto brake is disarmed. Alright, good. And stove the reversers. Welcome to Oklahoma City, everyone. We only had one exit left down there, so it's pretty good that we've actually vacated on mic. Alright, good stuff. Right, let's turn off the landing lights and instead on with the taxi light. Auto brake to off, and let's retract some flaps. We'll leave the transporter in mode Charlie. Do a bit of cleanup here. Alright, this is what I've also been looking very much forward to check out the scenery, given that this is the very first time I'm here. I actually bought the scenery yesterday along with London Stansted, so this is going to be quite interesting. Alright, so what I'll do is turn left here on Golf. And then grab one of the entries towards the apron a little bit further down. So what we're going to do is continue on Golf here, and then yeah, let's just grab Golf 1 and then stand 8, 10, 12 or 14. Right on Golf 1. Let us start up the APU in the meantime. Alright, the moment of truth, everyone. How is the scenery looking? I see we actually have some Southwest logos on the jetways over there. So maybe, just for the sake of the realism. Yeah, let's just go with gate 14 anyways. Select stand 14, or maybe a stand further down. Let's just select 16 then. No, follow me. Alright, 16 is right there. Oh, lovely leg spikes. A little bit of steep turn. And taxi lights off so we don't blind the marshaller. How's the APU? Yep, APU is ready to go. And let's just do idle power from now on. I hope this GSX profile is correct. Nice and slow. And there we are. Good stuff. Parking brake set. Got 2 blues, 1 red. Engines are dead. And in real life the chucks would probably be set now. Alright. Engine starts cooling down. Passenger signs can go off, and then the shutdown flow. Oh, and actually my mistake. You're supposed to switch the probe seat to back on auto when you taxi in. So I'm used to the probes not having the setting auto, which is why I'm selecting the probes to off right now. But you're supposed to do it on the taxi in anyways. Electric hydraulic pumps to off. Open the SOS valve. APU bleed to on, and as soon as the engines are down 25% on the N2, we can select the anti-collision light to off. In the meantime, let's request ground power. Now that the chocks are set, we can release the parking brake, which will enhance the brake cooling, and then select the transponder to off and set transponder code 2000. Okay, ground power is on. APU bleed off. Fuel pump to off, and shut down the APU. And I guess we can now do the shutdown checks. And also let's just assume that we have ground power. Sorry, preconditioned air available also, which means that we won't need the packs anymore. Alright, let's do the shutdown checklist then. Fuel pumps are off, probe heat off, or auto in this case. Hydraulic panel is set, flaps are up, indicating up. Parking brake is released. Engine starters are cut off, and weather radar is off. Shutdown checks complete. And that is basically it, everyone. and this is where we part way, guys. I want to thank everyone for watching, especially to the guys who made it to the very last bit. I want to thank you guys as well for all the amazing support and showing great interest in my occasional votes I have on the channel. And in case that you are new here, then I should also mention that I do occasionally throw a community vote up on my community tab, where you guys can participate in the vote on where I fly next. But for now, I wish you guys a pleasant day, and I'll see you guys very soon.